Yeah, Sammy, that survey that you were just talking about that came out, Lambeau Field was voted the best state of all. Like, I think it had all four major sports, or at least three. The thing of it is number one is Lambeau. I started off and I'm like, oh crap, and this is based on Yelp reviews and Google stuff and everything. So this isn't like a survey that was sent out. This is like Yelp reviews and Google stuff. The Angels were 31, and I think a big part of the reason why is I've given it such high reviews, and there's probably only like 4 people that have reviewed Angel Stadium. I was more impressed that Angel Stadium was 31, which means it was like, listen, it would beat a lot of stadiums. It wasn't it was the top. I think it was like 90. Yeah, there was like 90. I forgot to look to see where Soldier Field was. I'm gonna have Greg bring that up, but it reminds me of a story one time. Steve Mariucci, it's like, he's like, hey, Adam, he's like, have you ever been to Lambeau Field? And he's like, and I'm like, no. He's like, you got to go. And I'm like, do I? I don't feel like I need to go to Lambeau Field. I know a lot of people say that, like, oh, what am I really missing out on? Like, I don't like Lambeau Field. It's not like they played at Lambeau Field in the 20s or anything like that. Like, this was a recent, like, relatively, it's not like Wrigley Field. It's not like Fenway Park, old Yankee Stadium, old Comiskey, anything like that. Like anything that was like really, it's just like, whatever. Like any other stadium that's been around since the 60s, like Dodger Stadium. Like I've been at Dodger Stadium. I'm not impressed by it. And yet here I am talking about Angel Stadium. In any event, how do you feel about Lambeau Field? Do you need to go to Lambeau Field? Why don't you leave a comment right now as Sammy starts the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It is time for Take It to the Rank. A great night of Bears content. And not only Bears content, but we've got a new All-Star Challenge of the MTV. Oh, the All-Stars is on the MTV. AEW. Rolling along. Like, I still love AEW. I know, like, the buzz, I don't know, so to speak, is dropped, but like, I still love it. John Cena's heel turn has been amazing. Professional wrestling's cooking. The Tape Never Lies Network has done a great job talking about some of the biggest names and movers and shakers for the Bears over the last couple of weeks. A lot of cool stuff coming out of them, but it's time for Take It to the Rank. And to do that, we need to bring in our co-host from CHGO, the bricklayer himself, Greg Braggs, is joining us here this evening. Greg, how are you? I know March Madness is upon us. How are you able to concentrate? Are you feeling good about Purdue's chances?
Yeah. Well, how am I able to concentrate? I won't be. Tomorrow, the Boilermakers play at 11:40 a.m., and our show is at 12 p.m. Central. So as soon as we go live at CHGO Bears, they will be in the midst of a battle against High Point. So we'll see how tomorrow goes. It's going to be funny. It's impossible to avoid. I know, I'm sure a lot of fans will be having a fun time at my stress. And so we'll just have to lean into it, right? I mean, everybody, whether you love basketball like I do, or you do, or if, you know, or if you don't, you know, the first couple days of the NCAA March Madness tournament are kind of a rite of passage. Kind of spring is here. So everybody's kind of paying attention to it. So we'll have some fun with it. But no, I will not be able to have any kind of attention span tomorrow. So that should be fun.
No, I'm looking forward to it for sure. I know it's interesting how much life has changed because for the longest time, my buddies and I would go out to Las Vegas, and we would go and spend 4 days in Las Vegas watching the games and doing all that stuff. And so I texted my friend, one of my best friends, the other day, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing Thursday? Like, what's going on?" And he goes, "I'm driving to Hesperia," which is a remote part of California. And and he's going to watch his son play high school baseball. And I told him, like, when his son first started high school baseball, he's a junior now. He's like, I'll still be able to work. I'm like, Matt, you will not miss a single one of Jake's games. Like, you're just not missing them. And similarly, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I've got a scrimmage tomorrow. We scheduled a scrimmage, but we're starting it at 4:30 so we can get back in time, because at 7:00 Pacific time, our Tritons of UC San Diego are taking on Michigan. So we're looking forward to that. And you're like, oh, I didn't know. The only affiliation is I call Cal State Fullerton games. So I always just adopt the Big West champion. We've had 2 in the last 7 years. It's been Cal State Fullerton. So we've been in there. But yeah, whoever, as long as even Long Beach State's fine. But I will, I support the Big West Conference. So, and I know a lot of people are jumping on board UC San Diego. Like, oh, this is the 12-5. This is the one. Although Michigan's got a couple of 7-footers, but the San Diego team's pretty nice. I think a lot of people will enjoy seeing it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It'll give us a distraction of what to do over, everything that's happening with the Bears right now, because we're in kind of a lull.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're exactly right. It is going to get us to the draft faster. We're 36 days away from the draft. So for me, I've got my knee surgery that I'm rehabbing through. I'm about almost 2 weeks out of it now. And so I can't put weight on this for another 4 weeks. So whatever I got to do to get through that and get to the draft, we got to use March Madness. Opening day of baseball starts for the majority of baseball next week. I know the Cubs decided to not win any games the last 2 days in Japan. Regardless, those are the things we're going to use to make the time go by and just forget about these next 36 days so we can get to the NFL draft.
How is the knee holding up? How are you doing? How's everything going?
It's going good. It's going every day. It gets better, right? So, those first couple of days, anybody's ever had ACL surgery, because that's the only kind of a surgery I've ever had. So I can imagine there's worse surgeries, but anybody that's ever had knee surgery, ACL will tell you, those first couple of days are rough, and then it just gets better and better every day. So you start to feel a little better.
Doing all the rehab and giving everything and trying to keep your mind occupied. And it's funny to me because now we're trying to keep our minds occupied with everything that's going on with the NFL draft. Obviously, last season, we had the Civil War between Justin Fields and Caleb and all that stuff that's going on. And right now, there's some reignition of some flames going around when it comes to taking certain players in the draft. And I know whenever you get a lot of time to sit there and really dissect it and really think about it, you kind of talk yourself into things, talk yourself out of things. I just want to start off with Ashton Jeanty because I spent some time at the NFL Network on Wednesday, and anybody who wanted to come up to me and talk to me about the Bears, the topic of conversation was Ashton Jeanty. Where are you standing with him right now? How are you feeling? I know we talked about this last week, like, hey, if these 4 guys are still available, has your mind changed at all, or are you just letting the process play out?
Well, I think we've talked about that. Like a month ago when we talked about this, I said, I'm not ever going to take it off the table. Like some fans like, oh, it's not happening. Well, it might happen. Right. And so then you have to decide, are you going to be mad when that happens? If it happens, or are you going to ride with Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles? I mean, I know the route me and you are going to take, right? That's the easy way. I mean, it's fair to be critical. I mean, would I personally right now go a different way? Yes, of course. I still think that they need to just continue to double and triple down on the trenches, whether it's offensive line or defensive line. And you have a lot of options at your disposal in both regards. That being said, it's clear there's a 50-50 shot he ends up at 10. I mean, there's a part of me that feels like it's almost like wasted energy because there's no way he gets past the Raiders. Look at their running back room. They don't have anybody. So they're clearly drafting Ashton Jeanty, right? But if they don't, who else is in the top 10 that's going to draft Ashton Jeanty before he gets to the Bears? I don't think anybody. And then now the Bears have a decision. So where am I at? I think, man, It's just one of those things. If he gets there to 10 and the Bears draft him, the Bears and me as a fan, I'm in no position to be upset when a good player is added to this team. And so the moves that they've made here this offseason, bolstering the trenches, they have players around their roster that we like, that means that all the moves they've made has opened the door for them to go a lot of different ways, whether it's running back, tight end, corner, offensive line, defensive line. And there's good players available for each of them. And if the Bears choose to take Ashton Jeanty, I think we're all going to be excited the night it happens.
It's interesting, too, because Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft has Ashton Jeanty going at number 6. A number of people that I talked to in around the building at NFL Network over the last couple of days seem to believe that Ashton Jeanty is going to be off the board. And there's some small part of me that if Ashton Jeanty goes 6 to the Bears, it's always so much more palatable because it's like, well, I mean, like, what could we have really done? Like, we're not really in a position to trade up,
right,
to go try to get him. And there's also a possibility, like, there's some weird things that can happen with Ashton Jeanty. And I was really starting to think about this because I'm starting to put together my piece for NFL.com, the mock draft with a twist. When you start thinking about because my whole guise for mock drafts or my mock draft is not predicting who's going where. This is what the team should do. And last year I famously said the Raiders should take Brock Bowers, and I was castigated by everybody. Like, you're such an idiot. There's no way they just drafted Michael Mayer. Why would they draft him? Why would they draft Brock Bowers? Like,
genius is never truly appreciated in its time. It takes way after for us to look back and understand true genius.
And I've said a lot of wrong stuff in my life, and I'm sure you could probably go through that draft board and find, like, you're an idiot for thinking this one. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. Which is fair. But I mean, like that, I do want to celebrate the win. I do remember the Justin Jefferson one too, as I remember saying, because like people always ask for where's your receipt? I'm like, I have my receipt right here. Here's the link to the article where I said the teams that pass on Justin Jefferson will end up regretting it. And it was a message to the Eagles. Did the Eagles regret passing on Justin Jefferson? You can make the case that they don't because they've won a Super Bowl. But would they be better with Justin Jefferson? Probably. In any event, we're looking at the board right now, and Daniel Jeremiah's got Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans, which I truly believe is a mistake. I think they should go with Abdul Carter. I feel comfortable saying that. I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or either one of those dudes. Like, I just don't. I don't think that I think they're drafting quarterbacks for the sake of drafting quarterbacks. Like, hey, if you don't use your 50% off at Old Navy today, it goes away. Okay, fine. Like, let it go away. Like, it's one of those things, like Old Navy gives you these cash offers. Hey, if you spend $50, you get $20 off. I'm like, well, I could spend 30 by just staying at home or not going online or whatever it is. And I think for the Titans, you look at Abdul Carter, you might be better off just doing this. Going with Abdul Carter. I don't know who you get to play. I don't know. Jameis Winston's still available. Kirk Cousins is still available or to be had for something. Like, I don't know, kick that down the road. Like, do you think you're going to compete this year?
Right.
So with those guys, I think, and then like Cleveland, I mean, Cleveland shouldn't take I know they need a quarterback, but like, again, neither one of these quarterbacks excite me. So when Tennessee somebody's taking Abdul Carter, but when you look at the Browns, Nick Chubb is gone. When you look at the Giants, they're just figuring out what life is like without Saquon Barkley. The New England Patriots, I can't remember if they signed anybody, but Ramondre Stevenson, not what he's been. Jacksonville's not taking a running back. The Raiders certainly could. The Jets have Breece Hall. The Panthers have, they just signed Rico Dowdle to go with Chuba Hubbard. They're not. The Saints, probably not. But still, there are other teams that could be in the mix for Ashton Jeanty. So I don't know that it's a given that he's going to get to the Bears. And again, I don't hate the idea of it because back in the day, and this used to be a big thing too, is like running back was the one position where you could count on the transition to the NFL wasn't as steep. These guys join the NFL and they become 1,000-yard rushers. I think he would be very successful if he comes to the Bears. If he does come to the Bears, do you think, like, how successful do you think he would be?
Well, when you look at this, it almost brings me back to the moment the Bears had the decision to draft Jalen Carter. And the reason I say that is because the whole conversation back then was Matt Eberflus needs the motor, the catalyst for his defense. He needs the three technique. That's what everything is based off of to make what a theoretical Matt Eberflus defense to be great. You need this. And they didn't take that. They needed offensive line. They took Darnell Wright. He's been a very good player since we've gotten him. But this almost feels like the same thing, but for offense. You have Ben Johnson here. And what is the catalyst to his offenses in Detroit? It's been the running game. The running back. And so that part of it too. And you can point to all the good running backs that are in this draft, and I hear that argument. It's a very fair argument. But if he feels Ashton Jeanty is the Jalen Carter of running back, it's just another echelon. I'm sure there was a bunch of other D tackles behind Jalen, but they ain't like Jalen. And so it's the same thing here. If Ben Johnson feels Ashton Jeanty is a step ahead of those guys, how do I think he'd do with Ben Johnson's offense? He'd be dynamic. If you look at David Montgomery and you look at Jahmyr Gibbs and how effective they've become here over the last 3 years, and how much Ben Johnson really leans on the run game to make his offense go. That was, scored 70 touchdowns last year. That's a lot. And it's not Patrick Mahomes, right? They got Jared Goff, right?
Yeah.
And so that to me, I think shows you where this could go. And you now have a guy that's a 3-down back. I even said earlier, really a 4-down back, because Ben Johnson likes to go for it on 4th down. They were one of I was reading somebody saying that they were in Detroit one of the highest percentage teams to run it on 3rd down because of how much they go for it on 4th down. So they're anticipating that move, and you need an explosive runner who's going to catch a defense off guard. I think if they drafted Ashton Jeanty with what they have right now, across the board, on offense, your offensive line is set. Braxton Jones has to come back from his injury, and he's back at left tackle, but everybody else is in place. Every single player on offense is in place just for that first team. Yes, you need more depth, but you get a running back to add to that room, and now all of a sudden it does start to look a little bit like what it's looked like in Detroit.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I know somebody was pointing this out on Bears Twitter. And they said, hey, like Roschon Johnson is the cautionary tale of, hey, finding a running back later in the draft doesn't always work out. But at the same time, my immediate thought was like, well, David Montgomery is hey, there's a 3rd-round guy that did really well for us. So
right.
Maybe it is. I don't think that you can just look at something and be like, well, because Roschon didn't work out, no running back in the 3rd round will ever work. Right. But you also can't look at it and be like, well, David Montgomery was in the 3rd round, so every running back in the 3rd round has the because you just never know. All of these guys are crapshoots. What I do know is that the people who do the scouting and they look over these things, people like Daniel Jeremiah, have called Ashton Jeanty the 3rd best player in this draft. They've said that he should be like Saquon or LaDainian Tomlinson. I remember LaDainian Tomlinson as a rookie, coming in, being the number 5 overall selection, having an immediate impact, and doing that kind of stuff. If this is the player that we think he is, and if he is available at number 10, because I don't think you should move up at all, I just don't see getting away from him. I just don't. Because I'm assuming some of the linemen are gone too.
Yep.
Because crazy things will have to happen. I know that last week I put out there, like, what if it's Ashton Jeanty, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, and Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
And that's another one too. I was talking to my friend Charlie Uke, who runs the NFL Network. He's also a Bears guy, and I should have him on the show. We were talking today. We had a water cooler talk about like Tyler Warren, like how, like, doesn't that make your offense like even more dynamic if you have that 12 technique? Because you still have DeAndre Swift and Tyler Warren. I'm starting to now be more and more engaged on this Tyler Warren thing, where it was always a lark for me, and I always just felt it was funny to just say like, yeah, we'll get Tyler Warren. But I'm really starting to believe that this could actually be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back.
You sound defeated.
It's one of those things again where, just like Ashton Jeanty, I think Ashton's another echelon of good over Tyler Warren, and Daniel Jeremiah alluded to that, and I agree. But again, it's one of those things. Would I do it? No. If the Bears do it at 10, am I going to then go on our live draft show and just be pissed and criticize it and hammer it? And Tyler Warren's a good player. The Bears need good players. And if Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, specifically Ben Johnson, feels strongly enough like this is a guy that's a weapon now for what my vision will be for the Chicago Bears offense, I have to trust it at this point. And I understand where some fans are like, okay, well, you be the company man, drink the Kool-Aid. I'm going to criticize. Okay, that's you. I get it. I would draft O-line. I would still draft Will Campbell at 10, and I would give him every opportunity to be the left tackle of the future. I would have him immediately in a competition with Braxton Jones and let the games begin. And you have an opportunity to have a top 10 left tackle and a top 10 right tackle for the next 10 years with Darnell Wright and Will Campbell. And oh, by the way, those three guys in between, veteran interior offensive linemen. That sounds great to me. If Mason Graham falls to, 10, I've been on this for a month and a half of how can we spread the misinformation to get Mason Graham to fall to 10. I talked to Trevor Sikkema, a rising star in this industry. Guy does amazing work. He was, on NFL Network for some of the draft coverage at the Combine. And he said there is a chance that Mason Graham could fall to 10 because he came in under 300 pounds. He was listed at like 325 or something. And he's like, players are always listed a little heavier than they actually look. But then it comes out he's like 6 pounds lighter. Well, he was 30 pounds lighter. And he's like, just like arm length for Will Campbell, there's a benchmark. And if you don't meet that, you're now off their board. For some teams, at least from what Trevor explained to me, he's going to be off their board just strictly from the measurables, from his arm length, from his weight. So when I look at a guy like Tyler Warren, it's like, man, I just want to bolster the trenches. That's all I'm focused on because there's good players available there. Not just because I'm taking them to take them. I know I keep saying this. I want to get trench drunk thing, but that's a tongue in cheek. We're having fun with it, but they need to keep bolstering the trenches. Adam, you said it 2 weeks ago, and it was exactly the point. Don't just think because you now have put the pieces and now it looks like, oh, here's my lineup and I all on paper. There will be injuries. There will be variables that come into play where you're going to need depth and not just, Bill Murray. Bill Murray's a development guy. You need quality depth. And that's what's hindered the Bears so many times. Last year, Andrew Billings, great D tackle. If he stays healthy all year, it's hard to run on the Bears. Well, Andrew Billings got hurt, and then running on the Bears was pretty damn easy. So we need depth. And across the board, they have a lot of veterans on their interior line, veterans on their defensive tackles with Billings, Grady Jarrett coming in. Well, you need guys that are going to be coming behind them that are going to be there next in waiting, and guys that can make plays this year, which they could do both. They can fill both needs. So I'm not trying to be defeatist if they take Tyler Warren. It's just not what I would do personally.
No, and I hear what you're saying, and I think this is part of the draft process that can be the most frustrating because the draft sometimes feels like a night out in Las Vegas where you go in the mind of like, hey, once I get up $100, I'm going to be cool, and I'm going to put that money away, then I'm going to walk and just take my winnings. But at some point you get into it, the waitress is coming around with free drinks, and now you're up $250 and you're like, I'll keep playing. Let's see what happens. We're on a roll right now. Why would I want to walk away even though I'm ahead? And in some respects, the Bears are ahead right now. And you can do the smart thing. And I think that initially what I was saying was like, yeah, let's take a lineman. Let's do it. I still think that's the best. I still believe that's the best thing. I really do. I do as well. I again, let's build the offensive line. Let's have too many options. Let's have too many weapons, too many linemen, too many either side. But at the same time, I think that probably the most important thing, and this is the biggest question for me, and unless we're sitting in that room, we don't know, is what is the drop off between Ashton Jeanty and the next possibly available running back? What's the next drop off between, Mason Graham and the next guy, Tyler Warren and the next guy? And I think that's where it gets confusing to me. Not confusing, but I think it needs to be warranted, because if the Bears don't like Will Campbell, we don't even know if the Bears like Will Campbell or if there's another lineman that they like. We really didn't know if Darnell Wright was going to be the guy until he was selected. Right. And we've seen this. The one thing that I would like to avoid, though, is like, I don't want to take the Adam Shaheens of the world. Like, I don't want to sit here. I want to be drafting
Shane
a guy.
McClellan.
I want to be drafting a guy that we know is good, that we've seen play well on Saturdays and in college football playoffs and in the SEC or the Big Ten. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, this is a toolsy guy. And I know what? And I know this sounds like a shot at Mike Green, and it sort of is I want a ball. I don't want to have to sit here and defend the traits as we do so many times. Like, hey, he's traitsy. He projects to eventually be a good player. He's been in the Ivy League. He's only played four games of college football ever. But look at the traits. Look at his score. That's what I don't want. And I just want them. I don't know. I want to fortify the lines along with you. But if they have determined that one of these players is so far and away the best guy, you got to do it. But you can't chase. The problem is you start chasing. It's sort of like a fantasy football type of correlation here, is that for one season, Travis Kelce was the greatest fantasy football asset like ever. He cleared the next tight end by 125 points. That's happened once. Mm-hmm. Everybody is caught up, and now that it's not as disparaging as it once was. So I think that when people look at what Saquon Barkley meant for the Eagles last year, what Brock Bowers did with the Raiders, are like, well, why don't you want to draft this year's Brock Bowers? You're like, we don't know. We don't know if this is going to be this year's Brock. We don't know. Like, he might not even translate to the NFL. We don't know. I thought Chase Claypool was going to be great coming out of college. Like, we just never know. So I don't want them to get in this thing where it's like, we have to draft a lineman. But I also don't want it to be like, well, we have to draft this guy that people think are going to be great, even though we don't necessarily know how great they're going to be.
Well, it's interesting you bring up it's almost like a fantasy football comparison to this draft. And I think that might apply to running back, right?
Yeah.
Because you have this guy in Ashton Jeanty who should be a first round pick in your fantasy draft, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But the smart fantasy owners are like, no. I'm taking wide receiver here. I'm taking
Jamar Chase.
And then I'm going to take one of these other running backs who's going to get
Rico Dowdle later.
I'm going to get the same production 4 rounds later. So you can chase that because you like the name. But I'm going to take the guy later and get the exact same production. But you have to identify who that is. So It's tricky. I mean, I brought this up on CHGO Bears earlier today, so forgive me, anybody watching that, where it sounds redundant, but I think it's worthy to say again to this regard. The Saints in 2017, the year the Bears took Mitch Trubisky, Christian McCaffrey was the number 8 pick. Leonard Fournette, I think, was 4th or 5th, 2 top running backs. But the Saints took, or not the Saints, the Panthers took Christian McCaffrey. But the Saints in the first round took Ryan Ramczyk, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin. Well, in the third round, they took Alvin Kamara. And so, that there, I think the Saints won that. Christian was a great player, is a great player, but then he goes on to the Niners. It's not exactly the same with what the Bears are doing. But the point is, they were able to identify someone that's just as big of a playmaking threat in the third round as they were in the first round. And let's say this was the exact same draft for Ben Johnson. Who would you rather have? The tackle and Alvin Kamara in the third round, or Christian McCaffrey in the first round? And I think most Bears fans would say I'd take the tackle and Kamara, because you know what you're getting. And so that's where it's like, can they be those smart fantasy football owners that say, I'm going to take the offensive lineman, defensive lineman in the first round because I know I can get a playmaking running back that's going to get very similar production to a great running back in Ashton Jeanty. But who is that guy? That's the $1 million question. Amarian Hampton's going in the first round likely. But then after that, where do these guys fall? Where do they fall to you? And who are you going to pull the trigger on to make sure that your plan works? And so, I think there's a lot of interesting names out there. Obviously, the running back from Iowa is a lot of somebody that a lot of fans talk about. I've talked a lot about Cam Scatterboo. Could you get him in the third round? After you bolstered your offensive line, your defensive line, and maybe a safety with your first 3 picks. And maybe Cam Scatterboo is that guy, that David Montgomery type, like you brought up earlier, in the third round that could come in. He led all of college football in catches for a running back last year. So he's not just like this ground and pound guy. He can get out in the get out in the flats, make a catch, and go break tackles and make plays. And I think people are underrating him when they compare, because of all the great running backs that are available in this draft. Travion Henderson is another guy I'm very big on from Ohio State. Dude has a lot of burst. So there's a lot of good options, but that's, I think, the beauty of this draft is we needed help in the trenches. I think there's players available to help that. We need to continue to bolster our running back room. I think there's players to help that as well.
No, I love that. And I will also point out that my mock draft with a twist that year, I told the Bears to take Christian McCaffrey. Was the Bears, or maybe it was the Chargers, but I remember getting a lot of pushback of people being like, you would be an idiot to take Christian McCaffrey this high up. It's funny, and again, I know I go back to this. Boise State, and obviously LaDainian Tomlinson came from TCU, so it wasn't like he came from this big name program or whatever, but it's like CMC still came from Stanford. Saquon came from Penn State. Like, again, and I know it's not fair to sit there and point to the the Fiesta Bowl or whatever the game was against Penn State and be like, this is what he did against Penn State. This is why I don't really trust him in the NFL. But at the same point, I love the idea of, and again, if Ashton Jeanty, I don't want to go too hard in the paint on this one,
right? Because
I feel like this could be something where we're like a couple of weeks from now being like, yeah, love this pick. Got to go for the guy. Got to go for the playmaker, because you won't see the full puzzle until after the third day and be like, well, what if they went and they drafted 2 offensive linemen in the second round?
Right.
You never know. You'd have to see the full, or maybe they trade down. Who knows? So again, I don't want to go too hard on the paint on this, but and it's not even a thing about it being a luxury pick. It's like, you have to be certain. You have to be certain that the running back is ready to go, and he is the dude, and he's going to be undeniable. And
when you talk about who he's played at Boise State, and he didn't do that well against Penn State, somebody in your chat just brought it up. Walter Payton played at Jackson State, right? LaDainian Tomlinson.
Okay.
Who did he play? Right.
I mentioned LaDainian Tomlinson.
They're outliers.
Okay. Walter Payton, from a poor section of Mississippi, in a time that we're probably living in again, where people in his situation might not have gotten that's a tough one to do. That if Walter Payton was a college prospect today, he would not be playing at Jackson State. And there's a good chance, a better than good chance that he's not a running back. My conjecture would be that Walter Payton would be somebody's quarterback because he had that kind of ability. He would have gone somewhere where they would have used him as a quarterback, and he would have been pretty good at it. So don't go too far back with this stuff where you're like, hey, Don Hudson went to Alabama. That's the same. LaDainian Tomlinson, I will entertain that one. You're absolutely correct.
Sure.
That's fine. I get it. Although,
I'm curious though, what position would Walter Payton have played if he hadn't played running back?
He could throw the ball. That's the problem.
He'd be quarterback. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. I don't want to educate you on the world. But
I'm a young guy.
Walter Payton played in an era where he probably wasn't given the full chance to play quarterback. It's a lot different nowadays. I'm just saying, you're a poor kid from Mississippi. Bear Bryant is not recruiting you to play quarterback. That's all I'm saying. There's been the world, not much different, little different nowadays. Not much.
Walter Payton as quarterback. That is a hell of a thought.
He's the third best quarterback in my lifetime for the Bears. Behind McMahon, Jay Cutler, and then Walter Payton on the halfback option are the three best. Sorry, Eric Kramer and Jim Miller. By the way, Jim Miller, please get well soon. We missed you today. Hope he's doing all right. I'm trying to think. I was going to research something real quick on the fly. But I do think, you know what? I was trying to remember. TCU played USC in a bowl game, and it wasn't LaDainian Tomlinson who smoked the Trojans. LT was a freshman, and I know it's not Mazio Royster was, I think he was the USC running back. Oh, there was this other running back who played for TCU who was also excellent. And then Marshall Faulk played at San Diego State. I know. Okay, listen. Okay, fair enough.
Says the 1998 Sun Bowl.
1998 Sun Bowl.
LaDainian Tomlinson played a key role in TCU's 28-19 victory over USC.
So he did play good in that game.
Contributing with 91 yards on kickoff returns, 30 yards rushing, and 25 yards.
That was LT, yeah?
Yeah.
Who was the running back?
Who was the running back?
The leading rusher of that game was not Mazio. Was it Mazio? No.
Yeah, you're going to have to give me a second here. I will attempt to find this.
You do the 1998 Sun Bowl.
TCU's running back was Basil Mitchell. Dang it. 185 yards on 19 carries, an average of 9.7 yards per attempt.
He crushed them. Basil Mitchell. Yeah, because I love bringing this up with LT.
TCU rushed for over 314 yards. Their passing offense only recorded 51 yards of offense. But
Basil Mitchell.
Basil Mitchell.
What a player. I went out there and I bought a bunch of Basil Mitchell cards after that Sun Bowl performance. Speaking of trading cards, at Windy City Sports Cards, we specialize in all things Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky, or Fire, we've got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. And in addition to our Chicago-focused items, we have a wide variety of items in other sports. As a matter of fact, if you're a fan of female soccer, did you see the LAFC playing San Diego on Sunday? What a match that was. San Diego has this God, I can't remember her name. She is so good. They have this teenager, and I'm like, I actually thought of Mike at Windy City Sports Cards. I'm like, I got to see if they make cards for this, because I would actually like to get them for my kids on my girls' teams. Get them some cards and do stuff like that. But Windy City Sports Cards, and whoever, and if it's Ashton Jeanty as the Bears pick, that I'm dialing it up, getting all the available Ashton Jeanty cards, and I'll Ty Warren. It doesn't matter. I'll be selling this like no other. But still think that at some point we're probably better off going through the trenches. By the way, before we go to, I want to get a couple fan questions in. However, I talked about this in the cold open. The Green Bay Packers has the highest Yelp reviews, Google reviews. You've never been to Lambeau Field.
Nope.
Mariucci told me I need to go. I don't care if I ever go. Do you feel like Lambeau Field is something that you need to see in your life?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan in the stands proponent. I love the experience of being at the games. There's a lot of fans that say I'd rather watch from home than be at the game, and I couldn't disagree more. I understand, and there is a hassle involved of waking up early, finding parking, getting in, getting out of the stadium. There's a lot of hassle. It takes much more of your day up to go. But as a sports fan that lives for the moments, those game-winning touchdowns, the Devin Hester returns, the walk-off home runs, the game-winning shot by Derrick Rose over the New York Knicks to open the 2013 season, I believe. Whatever it is, I want to be there for that. The roar of the crowd, the electricity, the wave of emotion that you feel, even the highs and lows. I've been to some really tough losses. I was at the double doink game. That was really hard. But for me as a fan, I like to experience those things because when the Cubs eventually won it all, it means more to me in a certain way because I was at the game when, the Cubs lost game 7, the game after Bartman, and I'm watching the Marlins cheer on the field at Wrigley and watching the 94-year-old lady bawling her eyes out, and it's walking out of there. It felt like a funeral. But then when they won the World Series, all that kind of is a culmination of everything you've been through as a fan. And you can experience that stuff from home as well. I'm not saying you can't, but I just prefer to be in the stands. So I would love to go to Lambeau, and I've been hesitant. I've had a few different opportunities. Obviously, I'd go every year, any year if I had wanted. But man, is it hard to watch Green Bay beat the Bears every year in Chicago? And I was at the NFC Championship game when we lost to them. BJ Raji with the interception to kind of seal it there. I was at the I know he always says it, but the I own you game where he really let the crowd know.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I love all that stuff. And if you unfreeze, who's frozen? Is it him or is it me? It's him. I get what he's saying because I will let you know that in 2002, the Angels won every series at home. And I was there when we beat the Yankees. When we beat the Yankees, it was a lot different than when we beat the Twins, even though we were going to the World Series. You're still going to the World, but it was like beating the Twins, like an unoffensive fan base. They had 4 fans in the stand. But you're going to the World Series and then beating the Giants to win the 2002 World Series, including winning Game 6 in dramatic fashion, rallying from 0-5 to go out there and take that one. I think the final was 7-5. Did we end up doing 6? It was 6-5 maybe. I know that Troy lost. It's the base. The bases clearing double that sets in motion. So there is something to be said about that. And I have been in stadiums for some horrific losses, whether it's Bears, Angels, Cal State Fullerton. Never had a terrible Kings loss, mind you. Never a bad Lakers loss. But yeah, I've been there for some tough times as well. That being said, I still don't want to go to Lambeau. And I think what he was getting at is that Green Bay has been so good over the last number of years that it's very difficult to go out there and then just be like, you know what it's going to be like. And we're going to take it on the chin. And we're going to be starting Mitch Trubisky or whatever it is and be like, yeah, we got to sit there and wear it. Although, again, as we sit there and we talk about, I don't want to go to Lambeau. If I would have been at Lambeau Field this year, I would have been a problem. I might have been escorted out of the building. And, it wouldn't have mattered because we walked them off anyways. So there is something to be said about that as the sun is starting to come in here to the studio. Ever since the time change, the sun is different. I didn't set my window shades accordingly and we're going like that. So for me, I guess, I don't know, maybe with Caleb Williams and a little bit more confidence, it would be fun to go to Lambeau Field. And I think maybe part of my reticence to going to Lambeau Field is the fact that Green Bay has been so dominant over the last number of years. Okay, how about a question here, Sammy, or a thing? Oh my gosh. Thank you. Hit these up. Don't let him wait. I don't want him to go away. Googly Bear. Oh my God, Googly Bear. That is the best name. Draft Ashton Jeanty and Scataboo. Why not? Hey, we've been talking about fortifying the offensive line and the defensive line. Like, why not throw a bunch of stuff at the running back room as well? I think that, we're coming to the point with Roschon Johnson to where you're like, maybe it's not what we thought it was going to be. So there you go. Like, I don't know. Maybe do both of them. All right. How about another question though? Another question, another comment. Do we have Greg back?
We have.
And he freezes again immediately. It's the garage. You know what's funny is I was on another podcast. I was on with Annie Angler on the offensive line. Hold on. I'm going to drop the shade because it'll annoy me. Oi!
Well, it might happen again. Fair warning.
Oh, here we go.
It might happen again. But yeah, we have a tornado coming through our town.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, and my power just went off. And so my modem went off. It all rebooted. So here I am back. But yeah, that was crazy.
I'm sitting here working through an earthquake. You don't see me complaining.
Well, I'm not complaining either, but the internet went out on me. But no, long story short, because I know you were asking questions, but I want to go to Lambeau, but I need some assurances they're going to win. I can handle them, all those tough moments at Soldier Field because I get to walk out with my people, but I can't walk out of Lambeau, with everybody rubbing our noses in it. I just can't do it. So then it's frustrating because the years that I haven't gone where they do win, like Jay Cutler on Thanksgiving or this last.
Oh God. Yeah.
season,
Right.
Or yeah, it's like, man, I would love to be there for that. What a big double birds moment you could have as a Bears fan, but it's a risk. It's a risk.
I guess part of it too is I'm not a huge number one. I don't like whenever somebody is like a Packers fan or whatever, like, hey, we should watch the game together. I'm like, nah, F off. I don't need to watch it with you. I don't want to watch it with you. Right. It's not going to be enjoyable for me. Win or lose. Because like if you're winning, then you're like, I feel bad. And then if you're losing, then I'm going to have to wear it. And I think part of it too, and like maybe it's because the alternative for us is going to Dodger Stadium in baseball. And like you're literally, not figuratively, like risking bodily harm going to that stadium. Like there is a good chance that somebody's going to try to fight you. They try to fight you in Anaheim. And you're like, we're the most like chill fan base ever. And people want to come in there and just start fighting. You're like, why, dude? Yeah, like, it's not like you're playing.
Yeah, we go through that with the Cubs and Sox too. Now, that being said, when both fan bases are energized like that,
that's more like Irish fights. The Dodger ones feel like they're going to end up with weapons.
Yeah. You guys in the West Coast, with your Fahrenheit degrees and everything you're working with out there and heavy traffic, I think you guys are a little more stressed out than us, but so yes, I agree. It can get a little dicier depending what stadium you're attending on the West Coast.
Like anytime there's a video of like, hey, fights in the stands, it's like of the 6 fights, 4 of them are at Dodger Stadium. Half of the time it's 2 Dodger fans going at it.
Yes. All for the honor of our teams. But no, yeah, it's yeah. So one day I'll get to Lambeau, but I'm going to wait till the Packers are terrible and then I'll go there. And then I'll probably, all that my planning for this, it'll probably turn back around on me anyway.
Yeah. That's so true. Is there another question though, Sammy? I actually wanted to bring this up. Okay, that good. I'm glad that this is the one. First of all, Dr. Jan Etor. Well done. First of all, this is obviously a Scrubs reference. Anybody who knows, I tweeted this out a couple of days ago. where I said Ted Lasso is a top 5 show for me, which means Bill Lawrence, the creator of both Scrubs and Ted Lasso, has 2 of my top 5. The janitor, one of the greatest characters of all time in all of television. But Adam, there's been a lot of talk about extending Kyler Gordon. Why a nickel? You know what, Dr. Jan Etor? It's because he's got just 2 fingers. He's got thumb and pointer. No, again, Scrubs reference. Here's the thing. It's not just a nickel. Like, nickel is one of the most important positions in all of football because you see all of these players having such great production from the slot. Like, a lot of these teams try to cheat by moving their big-time wide receivers inside to be slot receivers. Look at what the Rams will end up doing this year. They'll end up moving Devontae Adams into the slot this year, and he'll have a monster season. We've seen other guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown will play in the slot. Like, they try to get players open by putting them in the slot. I think nickel corner has now become a position that's an absolute need. In some respects, the Bears value the nickel cornerback position so much that they had Kyle Gordon play there. And I think that's actually been to Matt Eberflus's credit, putting him in the nickel. I think it's very important. We got Jalen as a lockdown. You have a competent guy in Kyler Gordon in the slot, and then you can double the other wide receiver.
Well, and I also think it's about getting ahead of the market. Kyler Gordon is somebody you're going to you want to keep on your team. And if you look at the nickels around the league, the best ones will make around $10 million a year right there. And that's where it kind of tops out at. For reference, like Derek Stingley, oof, the outside cornerback for the Texans, gets 3-year, $30 million. That's 3-year, $90 million. That's $30 million a year. But when the Bears, signed that contract with Jalen Johnson a few years ago, he was at $19.5 million or so a year, right? Yeah. 4 years, $78 million or whatever. Well, at the time when they signed him, he was paid as one of the top 3, top 5 corners in the league. Guess where Jalen Johnson now ranks on the list of top paid corners in the league, Adam?
Oh, yeah. He's 15th. I don't know. It's like
exactly 13th. And so at the time, you're a top 3 paid corner. Now the market's moving, and now you're 13th. Cole Kmet, same thing. When they paid him, he was, I think, 7th, the 7th highest paid tight end. Now he's outside of the top 10, just like Jalen. And so, yes, you're going to pay Kyler Gordon to get ahead of the market and to help your salary cap space, and give yourself an opportunity to kind of bolster things elsewhere by, reallocating his salary cap distribution and doing things for that reason as well. That's another reason why you got to extend him, is to try to help out your salary cap situation, to try to, bolster other positions. So I definitely think that they should look into this offseason. And we talked about this last offseason when you're looking at DJ Moore. And I had people, why would we extend DJ Moore now? Let him play the year. I'm like, because you want to get ahead of it, guys.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
It's never getting cheaper.
Right. And so they re-signed him, and now, now they could restructure his contract if they need to, or if he'd allow it, but you gotta sign the good players that are on your roster, and he's one of them.
No, I absolutely agree with it. And I hope he does, because when we hit on players and they're good, like, I would like to keep them around. And again, it ends up being a better savings when you look at some of the deals, especially when you look at like when you look at what the Bears did in free agency, and as it like trading for guys as opposed to signing guys, the Vikings and all these other teams are throwing so much money at these players, and like, we're getting them it's not necessarily a bargain. I mean, Jonas Jackson is still making a lot of money, but what somebody like that would have cost in the open market is completely different. And if we lose Kyler Gordon, we're either going to have to draft a nickel corner, or we're going to have to sign one, and it's going to cost us more money in the long run. It's just one of those things. It always goes back to whenever, like, I would have a friend who's like, I got to get my car repaired. It's going to cost $1,500. I might as well just get a new one. I'm like, you're going to put $1,500 down and then pay $500 a month for 5 years. Like, it is not cheaper to get a new one. I don't want to put money in. Like, no, you do. Like, it's still a serviceable, like, he's still a a good quality defensive back, we should pay the money for it. It's not like he's 36 and we're trying to just be loyal. Like we're paying a good player. We're playing a good player. By the way, I'm telling Orange Cassidy, I'll take a bump in AEW. I once wanted Cody Rhodes to do something. Stevie Richards is the only guy. There it is. I would, Orange, like whatever you want. I'm willing to do it. Stevie Richards is the only one who put me in a wrestling hold. Cody didn't want to do it. He was worried. I'm like, dude, I get it. You don't want to be sued. That's a good one. Was there anybody, you know what? I actually got to go. But was there anything else, Greg? Do you have what do we got going on at CHGO for the rest of the week?
Well, we're all going to watch me stress out about the Purdue Boilermakers during a CHGO Bears podcast. So I'm sure everybody's going to be thrilled with me. It's either that or I don't do the show, and I want to do the show. So I'm going to do it, and then we're all going to just see if
Wait, is that tomorrow or Friday?
That's tomorrow. So I think the plan for the show, I think, is just for me to essentially try to do a show while I have a monitor in front of me where I can watch the game. And then Mark Carmen's just going to throw questions at me in the most pivotal moments to see if I can hold my composure and answer them. And the likelihood of that is very small, but we can have fun with it. Why not? So not too much, planned. And then obviously Friday, we'll have our usual Friday shows. And as long as you're willing and able and available, you're always, you've been a mainstay with us here week to week on the CHGO Bears podcast, and we greatly appreciate that as well. So we'll have some fun on Friday and have some different thoughts and ideas. Obviously, the Bears just made another move for a wide receiver, the kick returner Devin Duvernay.
Duvernay?
Yeah, from the Ravens. They signed him here about an hour ago, or a little over an hour ago or so.
How did I miss that? Where have I? Wow. You know what? I was doing an interview with some kid at Cal State Fullerton.
All right. So now, the wide receiver room starting to, fill out. And so I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow and see what other moves the Bears have to make here before the draft. But 36, tomorrow will be 35 days away. So we'll be exactly 5 weeks away from the draft tomorrow. So lots more to get to, and we'll start coming up with some fun topics. So that's it. That's all we got.
If the Tritons lose on Thursday night, I'll be too despondent to come in.
Yeah.
On Friday. I won't be able. No, I'm just joking. I don't care that much.
Yeah.
Although my boy loves UC San Diego now. I think that was the game because he went to one of the games at Cal State Fullerton where he was with me. And he's such a front runner. He cheers for these teams it had to be UC San Diego because he's all into UC San Diego all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, you were at a game where they destroyed Fullerton. And of course you're a fan now. But that'll be fun. I do want to ask, were you on the show where, I don't know if it was the one that you missed when you were having your surgery and we were doing this thing about Trey Hendrickson and I deflated the room. Because hey, would you do this or you do that? I go, hey, you understand that the Bengals are letting him seek a trade so they can go out there and say, you're not worth as much as you think they are, as you think you are, and you're going to end up re-signing after we take care of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And everybody got super morose.
Yeah. No, I don't think I was. I think
it was the one where I was with Hogue and Carmen, and they did not like that answer at all. They were super bummed. And I'm like, no, this is the reality. He's 31. He's not getting paid big time money. The Bengals will let him go out, seek a trade. All these teams will be like, we'll give up a 5th rounder. And they're going to be like, nope. And we'll just pay him. And which is kind of what's playing out right now with Cincinnati.
Well, come with your comeuppance on Friday. If there's
I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, Mark loves
get up the kazoo.
Every one of his good takes. So yeah, we'll have the harmonica ready.
Harmonica.
You'll get a little toot for your thoughtful.
Stop with the toot thing, by the way. Stop saying toot. Wait, do you guys call it a carmonica?
Yeah, it's a carmonica. Yeah, we call it that for sure. Yeah.
The carmonica.
A little toot with the carmonica.
Don't say the toot. That's too much. It's too close. The boy's laughing. I can't have it. He thinks it's hilarious because he thinks of toot as something else.
Yes.
And all that good stuff. But listen, want to thank everybody for being here. This was cool. And by the way, thanks to everybody who are in the comments. And I always admonish Greg, I'm like, don't go in the comments during the show. And I had to, because when you jumped off, I was looking for something else. And the debate going on with the Ashton Jeanty thing is great. Yeah. And I appreciate it. You should have these, be cool though. Okay. There's no wrong answers. And ultimately what we think of these players doesn't matter. It's up to Ben Johnson. If Ben Johnson thinks he's the next LaDainian Tomlinson, he's probably going to be on the roster. If not, we got to trust his judgment. And I trust all of your judgments because you decided to spend an hour with us here tonight. Yep. Thank you so much for doing that. Watch Greg tomorrow during the Purdue game on CHGO, and then catch me on that show on Friday. I will be on, there's some podcast with the Miami Hurricane fans, the Orange Bowl guys or whatever. If you like the Miami Hurricanes, find that podcast in an hour. I'm going to be on with them. So until that time, for Greg, I'm Adam. Thank you for being here. And Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.